Before there was science, there was Aristotle's physics. Before there was a theory of motion, of time, of space, there was a philosopher who dared to ask, why does anything change at all? Aristotle's physics is not physics in the modern sense. It is natural philosophy, an investigation into the deepest principles of the natural world. Written in the 4th century before Christ, its 8 books tackle the most fundamental questions. What is nature? What causes change? Is motion eternal? Is the universe infinite? What is time? What is space? For 2,000 years, this was the framework through which the Western world understood the physical universe. Aristotle begins by defining the scope of his investigation. The natural philosopher studies things that have within themselves a principle of motion and rest. A stone falls, a flame rises, a plant grows. These things move by their own nature, unlike artifacts which are moved by an external craftsman. Nature is an internal source of change, and understanding nature means understanding change itself. To explain anything in nature, Aristotle insists we need 4 kinds of cause. The material cause is what a thing is made of, the bronze of a statue. The formal cause is what it is, the shape of the statue. The efficient cause is what made it, the sculptor. The final cause is what it is for beauty or commemoration. Modern science focuses almost exclusively on efficient causes. Aristotle insists that to understand nature, you need all 4, especially the final cause, the purpose. Nature does nothing in vain. Do things happen by chance? Aristotle draws a careful distinction. Chance operates in the realm of purposive action. A man goes to the market and accidentally meets someone who owes him money. Spontaneity operates in nature. A tripod falls and happens to land upright, as if placed there on purpose. Neither chance nor spontaneity is a true cause. They are names for the absence of regular causation. The universe is fundamentally orderly, not random. Here Aristotle makes his most controversial claim: nature acts for an end. Teeth grow sharp in front for biting and flat in back for chewing, not by accident but by natural purpose. Rain falls to water crops, but the rain does not intend to water crops. Nature's purposes are built into the structure of things themselves. This teleological view that nature is goal-directed would dominate Western thought until the scientific revolution displaced it with mechanism. The central concept of the physics is kinesis, motion or change. Aristotle defines it as the actualization of a potential, insofar as it is potential. A block of marble is potentially a statue. When the sculptor begins carving, the marble is in motion. It is becoming actual what it was only potentially. Motion is not a state but a process, a transition between potentiality and actuality. This definition, for all its abstraction, captured something profound about the nature of becoming. Not all change is alike. Aristotle distinguishes 4 types. Change of substance is generation and destruction. A thing comes into being or ceases to exist. Change of quality is alteration, water heating, leaves changing color. Change of quantity is growth and diminution. Change of place is locomotion, the most fundamental kind which underlies all others. All natural change can be classified under these 4 headings. What is place? Not empty space. Aristotle denies the existence of a void. Place is the innermost boundary of the containing body. The place of the water in a jug is the inner surface of the jug. Every physical body has a natural place, earth at the center, fire at the periphery, water and air in between. Things move naturally toward their proper place. A stone falls because its nature draws it toward the center. Fire rises because its nature draws it upward. This is the foundation of Aristotelian terrestrial physics. Aristotle argues forcefully against the void. In empty space, there would be no reason for a body to move in one direction rather than another. Without resistance, motion would be instantaneous, which is absurd. Without a medium, there would be no natural places and no natural motion. The atomists were wrong. The world is a plenum completely filled with matter. Every place is occupied. There are no gaps in nature. This argument held sway for nearly 2 millennia. What is time? Aristotle's answer is stunning in its precision. Time is the number of motion with respect to before and after. Without change, there would be no time. If nothing moved, if nothing altered, time would not pass. Time is not motion itself, but the measure of motion. And yet time depends on a soul that counts. If there were no one to number the before and after, there would be no time. This places consciousness at the heart of temporality. The now, the present moment, is the boundary between past and future. It divides time but also connects it, like a point on a line. The now is always different and yet always the same. Different because time always moves on, the same because it is always the present. Time is continuous, infinitely divisible, and the now flows like a point tracing a line through the fabric of becoming. Is the universe infinite? Aristotle says no, not actually. An actually infinite body cannot exist in a finite cosmos. But potential infinity does exist. You can always divide a line further, always add another number, always find a time after any given time. The infinite exists as a process of becoming, never as a completed thing. This distinction between actual and potential infinity shaped mathematics and philosophy for over 2,000 years and remains influential in the philosophy of mathematics today. Motion is continuous. It cannot be composed of indivisible jumps. Zeno's paradoxes attempted to prove that motion is impossible by showing that a runner must traverse an infinite number of points. Aristotle dissolves the paradoxes by arguing that continuous magnitude, time, and motion are all infinitely divisible in the same way. The runner does not traverse an actual infinity of distinct points. The points exist only potentially as places where the continuum could be divided. Every motion is either natural or forced. Natural motion follows a body's inherent tendency. Stones fall, fire rises. Forced motion goes against nature. Throwing a stone upward requires an external mover. The crucial principle, everything that is in motion is moved by something. Natural motions are caused by the body's own nature. Forced motions require a continuous external cause. Remove the cause and the forced motion ceases. This principle would dominate physics until Newton replaced it with inertia. Aristotle argues that motion is eternal, it has no beginning and no end. If motion began at some first moment, something must have changed to initiate it. But that change is itself a motion, so there was motion before the supposed first motion. Similarly, motion cannot end because its ending would be a change. The universe has always been in motion and always will be. There was no creation, no first moment. This conclusion would become the greatest point of conflict between Aristotle and the monotheistic religions. If everything in motion is moved by something, we face a chain. A is moved by B, B by C, C by D. Can this chain extend to infinity? Aristotle says no. An infinite chain of movers, each dependent on the one before, would never produce motion at all. There must be a first mover, something that causes motion without itself being moved. This first mover must be eternal, since motion is eternal. It must be unmoved, since it is the source of all motion. The physics concludes with one of the most consequential arguments in the history of thought. The unmoved mover is the first cause of all motion in the cosmos. It moves the outermost celestial sphere, which in turn moves everything within it. But how does something unmoved cause motion? Not by pushing, that would require it to move. It moves as an object of desire moves the one who desires it. The unmoved mover is the final cause of all cosmic motion, the eternal, perfect, immaterial reality toward which the entire universe strains. The unmoved mover is pure actuality with no potentiality, for any potentiality would imply the possibility of change. It is immaterial, for matter is the seat of potentiality. It is eternal and changeless. Its activity is thought thinking itself, the highest and most self-sufficient activity. It is, in essence, divine. In the metaphysics, Aristotle will call it God. Here in the physics, it is simply the necessary conclusion of the argument from motion. Thomas Aquinas saw in Aristotle's physics the philosophical foundation for proving God's existence. The first way in the Summa Theologica, the argument from motion, is Aristotle's unmoved mover argument reformulated in Christian terms. Aquinas accepted the chain of movers, accepted the impossibility of infinite regress, and concluded that the unmoved mover is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But he departed from Aristotle on the critical question. Aristotle held that the universe is eternal. Aquinas insisted on the basis of revelation that it was created in time. Augustine of Hippo, centuries before Aquinas, had already engaged with Aristotelian physics and rejected its most fundamental claim. If matter is eternal, then God did not create it. Augustine insisted on creation ex nihilo, creation from nothing. The world is not eternal. Time itself was created with the world. What was God doing before creation? Augustine famously answered, he was preparing hell for people who ask such questions. And then, more seriously, there was no before creation because time itself did not exist. The tension between Aristotle's eternal universe and Christian creation drove some of the most brilliant philosophical work of the Middle Ages. The condemnation of 1277 banned the teaching that the world is eternal. Yet Aquinas argued remarkably that reason alone cannot prove whether the world is eternal or created. This is known only by faith. He defended Aristotle's physics while limiting its theological implications. The result was a delicate synthesis of natural philosophy and revealed religion that defined the intellectual life of medieval Europe. Aristotle's physics dominated Western understanding of nature for 2,000 years. Its overthrow by Galileo, Newton, and the scientific revolution was not just a change in physics but a revolution in the very concept of explanation. Where Aristotle asked, why, seeking purposes and final causes, modern science asks, how, seeking mechanisms and mathematical laws. And yet the deepest questions of the physics remain alive. What is time? Does the universe need a first cause? Is nature purposeful? These are questions that physics has not answered because they are not questions physics can answer. They are philosophical and they are Aristotle's.